Hey, welcome back to the award-winning Ed Brown Show. You know what? We, the world today, anyone know what the world today is about? I don't know. Everything's happening. But let's start with some pleasant stuff. Let's see about it next time you see the show, the NBA be over. And I like to commend the young men on both sides, a beautiful job that they've done, and especially the young man there at Golden State. And I mean, I should Golden State team and also Cleveland. Now, they have put on a terrific show of talent on both sides. I mean, on both sides you have the pluses and the minuses. It's a lot of people out there, that enjoy the playoffs, but I think the whole playoffs was in good taste because you expect young people like that to respond negatively when they're upset. But anyway, congratulations to the NBA for putting on a terrific, terrific show. Now let's get to this thing that a lot of people, tragedies that has happened and everything. This is part of life, which most of us don't want to acknowledge. And in the future, there's going to be more of that, because a human being is unpredictable. We have those massacres, we have the wars, and they say there's going to be rumors of wars. It's not going to stop. We have the one that really got me was the idea this young man let his 2-year-old child, get taken by what is the alligator. It's heartbreaking, but that's part of life, which we really have to adjust to. And most of us, it's a difficult thing when you find a 2-year-old, you just think of that, having experience like that. But the thing that I want to talk about, begin with too, is voting. And I've been stressing voting because voting is so very, very important. Most of us, we think in terms of the big elections, the presidency and that type of thing. But the most important election is your local election. And you know how you get involved in your local election? You get involved by starting with what? You start with the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts. You can start early, really. But the civic association for all of you adults, how many do you get involved in your local civic association? That's where everything starts, because all of those individuals that are out there trying to run for some kind of office, they started somewhere getting involved. And when I say get involved, you got to get involved on the local level. And you have to do your homework. Some people figure that voting is not important enough for me to do the homework. But what happens if you don't do your homework? Then you have 3, 4, 5 years to suffer with the individual you didn't take time to find out about. Like I said, the basic election is your local election. You start with civic association, you go on up to the county, the state, and then finally the Congress. But the people that really affect you most are your local officials. And the other thing, as far as local officials concerned, I don't know how you feel about it, but you have to really do your homework in order to make a real decision. And one of the things I think that that really people should think heavily on, I know you got your favorite person that's running, but term limitation. Here in these United States, the top office in the country is the presidency. Term limitations, that protects you from someone building a castle someone building a term 25, 30 years in office. That's too long. And that's my opinion, you know. They should have term limitation on all office, start with the dog catcher. Excuse me. Because it's so very important that you give the young people a chance to have a voice. And that's one thing, when you don't have term, no one out there, I mean no one out there knows what's best for everything all the time. That's the purpose of term limitation. So wherever you are, remember that term limitation. That way we get new blood, we get so that individual doesn't build a dynasty. He builds a dynasty and he thinks he's a king or she's a queen. And that it really poisons the system if you don't have term limitation. I think 2 terms in any office is enough. That gives everyone an opportunity to run for that office. And ideas change. Okay, you don't think, do you think the same way you did when you were a teenager about subject? Or did you, during the point of, did you find out that, hey, look, it's something other than what I've been exposed to? You've been indoctrinated by maybe your school, your parents, someone has indoctrinated you. And then you get out there and do your homework and you find, hey, this is not true what Uncle John said or what Grandpa said, because you've done your homework. That's the most important thing in a democracy, is that you have an opportunity to do your homework on anyone that's running. You have term limitation. That means nobody sets up a dynasty, you know, like the system has been going. And no one, I mean, no one should have over 2 terms in office. That's time enough for them to get their point over, for them to do something. So remember that in the world today, that's one of the problems that we have all over the world, is the fact that they're fighting in just about every country, and it has nothing to do with religion or anything, because they're fighting each other. The same race, the same religion, they have the same problem, is that they have internal strife. This country was founded on internal strife, and they still have not gotten rid of the internal strife. They still have negative things like segregation. They have negative things like 3% of the people control most of the money. That's ridiculous, but it's true in America, is that 3% of the people control the economy. Have you ever thought about that? When you're buying something, when you're out there working, you know, the fact that they should spread it around, and the way you spread it around is that you have to do it that way. The main item there is that you don't wait around and be influenced by other people. You know, that peer pressure, I know Uncle John and Susie May and all of them, they voted one way. Well, hey, those days are over. What you have to do is evaluate the individual. That's individual that is running, not Uncle John, not Aunt Mary. And that's what you have to do. Maybe they've been doing it for 100 years, but you can see what happens when you don't actually get information from the people, and they're counting on you not doing your homework. Say, I'll tell that joker anything, you know. All I have to do is tell him what I'm going to do when I get in office, and once I get in there, then I do what I want to do. And if I have term limitation, then I'd have to do something, or no, I'll be out in the street. So that's where the world today, that's the voting is very important. People are giving their lives for it all over the world. But what we have to do, we as individuals, has think about, hey, everybody don't like somebody. really you don't like some people in your own family. You know, they have family quarrels, and that's the human nature. But the idea is that you have to get involved in your community. You know, a lot of people say, hey, I don't have time. I got to do this. I got to do that. But the ones that don't vote, what ends up, they suffer the most because they really, when the things don't go their way, they were ready to throw the guy out, and it's too late. See, and generally, what do? You set up a system so that your children will know how important voting is by voting yourself. And that's one of the major things with the whole world. Everybody wants to rule everybody else. And we can share. There's so much in this world that we can share where nobody's going to please everybody all the time. Remember that. And remember, whatever system you're in, you got to get in the economy of that system, and you got to be active. That's how you get tyrants, is people sit back and don't do their homework. That's the key. Most people are influenced. What is that called? That I think they call it peer pressure. You know, Aunt Susie and your cousin and your worker at school and all of that have influence. But once you start doing your homework, not listen to the garbage on television, then then you become a real good citizen. Now, the other thing that at the world today is education. One of the problems that we have advantage of here in the United States is the ability to get an education, but our system is flawed too, because here we have the Brown versus the Board of Education, and the African Americans have been struggling to get some of that education. But what happens is here it has been 62 years they're celebrating, but everything is gone back. And still, you have segregated housing, you have segregation on the jobs, where people are chosen not by their ability, but by the color of their skin, or the language, or the religion. And those are the things that really damage the future for your children. Yes, your children, your grandchildren. You think you're doing something by indoctrinating your children certain ways, but when they reach that time where they can do their own homework, it's a change. And that's why we have change now, is because people on both sides have realized there's certain things that we have to share and we have to have respect for. As long as you have respect for another human being, you don't have any problem. The lack of respect, regardless of the person's color or religion, that is the problem that we have. We had a civil war, I think, here based on that, where control. Out there, I don't care where you go, somebody wants to control somebody else. And the control starts with finance. So what you have to do, for instance, in this system here, is you got to get in the financial part of your country. I don't care where it is, Europe, Asia, what. Once that is not equal, then you have problems. And the people that deny other individuals part of the financial world, that, hey, look, they didn't invent whatever they had. It was already here. And only thing they did was improve. We improved transportation. We improved everything, But the main thing is respect. Do you respect the individual, or don't you respect the individual? Or do you have a reason not to? Oh, yes, we can always find a reason not to respect you, But those are things that we have to get out of our system and actually evaluate the person as an individual, not as a race, because once you do that, then that's what they call That's not good. Why it's not good? Because that individual that you walked on for 90 years or 10 minutes, they out there setting bear traps for you. You know, sooner or later they may not, it may take a couple generations, but they get involved in it. So the thing that I say is that we have to respect each other. Once we do that, things will get easier. I know it's tough to respect somebody you don't like, but how many of you out there respect someone you don't like? Oh, huh? I didn't see any hands go up, because everybody is guilty of that, even families. Just like the situation that we have here currently around the world. We have the ISIS situation. Okay, so everybody is down on the Arabs. Every Arab that has a beard, but everybody goes through that. Every race. Europeans went through the same thing with the Indians, with Geronimo. He wanted to rule the Roman Empire, the British Isles, all of those, the Russians, everybody's involved, the Chinese, Genghis Khan. You go down, and every country has been through some kind of catastrophe. I mean, inside where the people themselves, and what generally causes is a lack of finance. If you over there eating steak and I have a hot dog, you know what I mean, then that makes a difference. Sooner or later, I'm going to get that steak. The way that I do it, it varies. Sometimes it's physical, sometimes it's mental, and that's the thing that you have to decide yourself. And the way you decide it is through education. So, like the problems in all these destitute nations is finance. The fact that you look around, here in America, we don't understand when people don't have anything to eat. But you notice that in all countries, they have natural catastrophes. We've had some here in the United States, and every country has been through that. And the only way that they survive is that they got together and worked together. But what happens after they work together and get the country back on its feet, there's somebody that wants to have it all. Are you one of those persons? Do you feel that you should have the best of everything and other people nothing? Ask yourself that question. I mean, you know, be honest with yourself. Look in the mirror and say, have I done everything to help my brother? You know what I mean? Or do I have that, I got mine, you get yours? That attitude, always participate in war. Some kind of war. I mean, people think of war as a physical thing, but it doesn't have to be physical. It can, you know, it can be mental. In fact, I think mental war is the greatest weapon that anyone can have. And all human beings have that. They have control of the mental situation that affects them. And that's why we have these different the shootings and things of that nature. And individuals really not considering other people. And we have a tendency, we do it to our families, you know. It's what brother, sister, doesn't make any difference. That's human nature. But those are the things that the world today, I think, is the answer to some of the problems, not all the problems. When you deal with a human being, you don't know what's going to happen next. But the only thing you can do is do your share. Most people, you know, it's something that they really, and you can't, think about it, you can't legislate it. Many times legislators want to, that's why they build a dynasty. They want to have everything their way. And the world today, that'll never, in fact, the way that we're going, we'll never have any peace. Can you recall any time that the world had peace, total peace everywhere, even in Europe, Africa, Asia, and everywhere? That's not it seemed to me, that's not a goal for the world to have peace. Well, one reason for that is they use any attempt to have peace for their own benefit. And say you find most of the armament in the world is made by the larger countries. And what happens is that the smaller countries have to, dig in and say, hey, we're not going to take it anymore. So they don't have the physical capacity to take over the larger countries. But the man upstairs, he takes care of things his way. These countries, you have floods, you have natural disasters, I think we've been through it. The Asians been through it. Europe been through it. Hey, the most devastating thing in this world is not the A-bomb. It's not the best supersonic planes. You know what it is? I'll give you 3 guesses, huh? Something nobody can not do without. I'm listening. What can you do? No one can progress without it. And we have no control over that. That item, we have no control over it. And you know what that is? It's one word that determines the success of anything. I don't care what it is and where it is. And that control is over nature, the sun, the moon, and the stars. Here we've had all kinds of catastrophes in every country. And you know what it is? H2O. You take water out of everything, and what happens? You can't survive. We've had examples where we had too much water. That's because the elements we can't control. You have snow, you can't control. The elements are the thing that man will never control. He has the A-bomb, he has all these destructive elements, but it reaches a point where he can't control it. And then who pays the price? The individuals pay the price. The government take advantage of that, So that's part of the world today that you need to sit down and think about it, regardless of your religion. Is the thing that the natural resources of this earth is the answer. And man will never control it. No matter how much knowledge he gains, he takes the water, he utilizes that, and then if it wasn't any sun, would nothing grow? If there wasn't a temperature change, who controls temperature change? Who controls the weather? Very few people I know. You know anyone that controls the natural weather, the natural resources? Sooner or later, right now, the man is fighting over the natural resources of gold and silver. That's something, but that's going to run out too. I remember when coal was number 1 too. Now they go on the other, and no matter what we invent, that Mother Nature has something stronger, and they prove that every day. Look out the window and see, is the sun shining? Were you responsible? Anybody human responsible for the wind and the rain? And I know we curse the tornadoes and things, but have you ever seen any force as precise as the natural resources that we have. We use them, and wasn't for the natural resources, the earth would be in bad shape because you couldn't survive. Isn't that right? Yeah. So that's part of the world today is be thankful, for the things that we have and share and think about other people, regardless of, the nationality, religion. Is that it's tough, to survive without everyone being considerate of the other person. Or what happens is that we have a tendency, like I said earlier in the program, is that I got mine, you get yours attitude. And that type of attitude always leads to some type of war somewhere where someone tries to control the natural resources. And that's one thing they will never be able to do. And now when you look at another person or you get involved, because those things, they come around, because no one controls that. But the most important thing here in America that we have is the vote. And I think that what we need to do is get involved, all the different religions, get involved in the financial structure of your nation. This is all over the world. And share. A lot of people don't want to share. What you need with 5 cars and 15-room house, when people are barely living in miles down the road. The thing about it, our society, if we don't change, well, what's going to happen? Everything, and just like the man said, everything is going to be destroyed by fire and water. This has been Ed Brown. That's part of the world today. And we're going to be coming back with information on the world today, and hopefully you will vote. Everybody needs to vote. That's everywhere, not just the United States. Everybody needs to participate into the democratic system, and that's all religions. Give your fellow man a break. Okay? This has been Ed Brown and the World Today. I'll see you next time.